Welcome to Intralogistics Insiders, brought to you by Sinaos. Explore the latest trends, challenges, and innovations in intralogistics with industry experts.
Welcome to the Intralogistics Insiders podcast. We have today Jaume Graells, General Manager at Movvo. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit what is Movvo doing?
Yeah, Movvo, I always say on top of all, we are intralogistics. We know how logistics processes are held, and we try to help in improving them, optimizing them, and automatizing them. Via using our manual machines, which we maintain and we do the full renting, let's say, service, and also via our AGVs. We use both our AGVs or third-party AGVs to, in the end, do what I just said, improve the intralogistics of our customers.
AGVs or AMRs?
That's a question. Depending on who you ask. But yeah, we call robots normally.
Mobile robots, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the story of Movvo? Where does it come from?
Movvo is like the junction of different companies that were other companies at the very beginning. Actually, 3 companies. One of the company was managing all the intralogistic machines, manual machines in this case, in the 3 plants of SEAT. All in all, 900 machines with different customers there. From there, we learned a lot about machines, intralogistic processes, and how this world is moving, all the little things inside this world. Then we have the second company, or we had the second company, which is Movvo Contenedores, is the company in which we build and maintain metallic structures, but also to move things from one part to another, see the relation in intralogistics again. And from here, we created then Movvo Robotics, which is the mobile robot company.
Okay, makes sense. So you have covered from the manually operated forklifts, I understand,
Yep,
to the containers that are used in the industry, and now the automatization of the processes.
Yeah.
How is it working with a large company like SEAT?
It's tough, I have to say, I have to admit, but this kind of companies make you be all the time on top of the edge in terms of technology, in terms of even pressure. So when you are used to working with these large companies, especially automotive industry, then you're ready for other companies. Of course, at every industry, there's their points, their secrets that you have to know to succeed. But yeah, we feel ready coming from this world, and we've grown together with this world. So we are happy to say that.
What are the biggest secrets?
If I tell you, then they're not secrets anymore. But yeah, I would say that there's this pressure of having the production done at every point, and lots of companies, lots of departments of the company working at the same point with different processes at the same time. So I would say this working together is both. It's complex, of course, but it's also the nicest point in this world.
What is the reason for companies like SEAT or other companies that you are serving to look for this automatization of the processes in logistics?
The main reason is economics, of course. They want their processes to be cheaper, and with automatization, in the end, you use less resources to help these intralogistic processes. So that's the reason, actually.
What about flexibility? 20 years ago, maybe there was like 10 car models. Now they're making more and more and more versions. What's the balance between manual process and automation? Is it a benefit to have automation where you need so much flexibility?
Let's say it is a complex thing to have this flexibility, not only for automatization, but also for manual processes. And actually, in the industry we come from, automotive industry, there's lots of complexity, and we as customers, we consider it as a added value. So they need to cover intralogistic processes to be cheap, but to be efficient with having all this flexibility. So even if you're working manual or you're working in an automatic mode, you need to cover that. It is complex, yeah, but in the end, what you need to be able to is to understand this complexity of flexibility and to design your processes to be able to cover them.
What role do mobile robots have in optimizing these material flows?
Okay.
Now, I will add a second question. Mm-hmm. What are the drawbacks of these robots compared to people?
I would say they run always the same. We people use our brakes. We know how to go across some situation, and that's sometimes interesting, let's say, but it also takes into strange situations that in the end are a problem. Mobile robots, they go all the time the same. So whenever everything is run simultaneously, it's smooth. There's a point here, and I have to admit, the most complex point is when manual and autonomous processes are being held together. That's really the not problem, but the challenge in these companies.
And how do you think these challenges will be solved in the future and present?
We need to understand, and all the different industries, they need to understand how autonomous logistics are being held and what you can do, what you cannot do whenever you are running together. Whenever the people already know, everything goes smooth again. At the very beginning, there's a transition you need to run. But in the end, I think it's people understanding how mobile robots work and logistic processes definition to make it the smoother, the better.
Okay. How do you measure the success of mobile robot implementations?
Well, that's hard. Of course, when you are in the commercial process, you have to understand a lot. And the more you understand the process, the better in the end what the solution will be. So maybe a KPI for this would be how many time did I use for the implementation compared to the time I thought I would use at the very beginning.
What are the KPIs that your customers are looking for to achieve with that implementation?
Well, they look for these economic KPIs, so the robots to be able to run the process they were designed for. Percentage of availability, that's an important one. And of course, timing of implementation. They need the process to be running when it was planned to be running. Otherwise, they are spending money or investing money in the project, but not having the return.
How important do you think it is digitalization in this process of automating the flows of materials in intralogistics?
I think it runs a really big paper, digitalization in here, not only for automatization, but for understanding the processes. The more information you have of the process, even in manual processes, the more you know how this process is running. So you will be able to understand where you have your possibilities to optimize the process. And that's where you need to go. That's where you need to improve your process.
What do you think is the maturity level of this digitization right now?
Technology is ready enough and it's evolving a lot, but deployment of the technology, it's at some point, let's say, we need to speed up. It reminds me about the pandemic time. Technology was ready to hold telematic work or telematic meetings, but we were not even considering. And something very big happened, and we said, okay, we need to do it. So I think it's at the same point. Let's hope nothing big happens, but we need to be, we are ready, let's say, to use it.
Right now, there are a lot of efforts to integrate AMRs into operations, to do simple processes from A to B or from one end of line to a next station. But the reality is that most of the process involves some manual work. A forklift driver, there is some person putting a box somewhere, And a lot of times no one knows about what is going on every time. Is this a critical factor for the optimization of this process, of the efficiency of this process, the digitalization of this, and the coordination between both manual tasks and AMRs, mobile fleets?
I would say it's important to have all these processes to be connected, to be coordinated or digitalized. But on top of that, I would use this word keys, keep it simple, stupid. We have to know when and where. Let's say when there's a process that goes A to B and there's nothing else, let's keep it like this. There's, of course, other processes that you need to interact with the previous or the next process. And there is when coordinating the process is very important. Also, to get like a higher number of or higher percentage of automatization. There's a critical point in which if you are not coordinated, you cannot go further. So that would be important at this point.
What challenges have you faced in integrating new technologies in your current systems with your customers?
I would say being coordinated not with manual fleets, not the technology itself, but when I need to coordinate with other robot fleets. There's a point to be solved here because we do some like short or easy solutions, but we still don't use like the big solutions. So whenever you have a project and you need to run with other companies, there's always a point on that. And we always solve it, but there's always a point there.
Where do you see the future there, and how would that help your customers?
Well, with having a solution that could help us in be easy to connect, let's say, it shouldn't be like a new development for me or for the other company to connect. Not even to be coordinated, but just to connect. With this, it would help a lot.
Is it just having the example of SEAT? Is it common to require new types of AMRs or new brands of AMRs to solve new challenges at the company?
Yes, it is. I mean, there's lots of companies like us. This is a technology that it's evolving a lot. So, and customers, and especially at least from where I come, from automotive industry, they want to be always on top of the edge in terms of technology. So yeah, it's a demand of them to be like all the time with new technologies, new vehicles.
What is more critical, hardware or software, and why?
I would say both, and there's no like why hardware, why software. For me, the most critical point here is the speed. The world is demanding the technology to be ready very fast. So we need to be very fast in developing our vehicles, and of course they need to be robust to work in these processes. So that would be the most difficult.
This is about going back to the cost. How do you justify the cost of investing in new automation technologies?
Optimizing the processes, safety, process to run like smoothly and with a rhythm that in the end make the process to be softer, let's say. But of course, when there's a process being run like 3 shifts, then the investment it's easier to justify, let's say.
Is it easy to know in advance what is going to be the benefit in terms of ROI from automating a process?
That would depend on the process, of course, but it's not that hard. Let's say whenever you know which is the manual process being held and you design the autonomous process, then you know the investment cost, of course, and the OPEX costs. So yes, it's not that hard.
How common is that you implement, for example, a specific process with autonomous robots, and then in 1-2 years, this process has to change?
It is common, and that's why it is so important to be flexible I would say mobile robot companies, they need to be flexible. Otherwise, they will be out at some point. Processes keep changing, and they need to keep changing. As I said before, there's this like need of evolution all the time. So you need to be ready for that. Even during the same project, there's sometime evolution.
This podcast is brought to you by Sinaus, the all-in-one intralogistics platform, orchestrating trail flows with mobile robots, forklifts, and people to overcome cost pressures and skilled worker shortages. Visit sinaus.com to learn more.
What do you think? How is the adoption of VDA 50/50, mass robotics, and the other standardization trials that are in the market going? How do you see its progress?
There is a progress, of course, but I would say we are in a point that everyone talks about it. Nobody knows what exactly it is. And that's not a problem. At some point, I guess we will all agree what exactly do we need, how do we solve it, and we will have like this comprehensive world in which we all talk the same language. But yeah, we're now in a point like stuck, I would say.
With your customers, like said, which is a big player, how hard has it been to scale automation? Because you can start maybe with some processes, but then probably you will have to scale to 50 AMRs. You will have to scale. What have been the biggest challenges that you have faced?
There's lots of processes that you start with 1-2 robots, and then you want to scale it to lots of other robots. And even if it's already projected at the very beginning, there's this situation in which the customer thinks, okay, 1-2 robots are working already, so having more robots, it's easy. It's just having the robots. And there's this point in coordinating all the fleet, understanding the logics of the traffic management, and that's a challenge. Of course, every time you solve it, but there's this difference in speeds, in the expected speed and the real speed in deploying this project.
Okay, having a big fleet in automotive especially, efficiency is key. Not having stops in material flow is key. You don't want to have any process in automotive stopped.
Yeah, not key, but mandatory.
How do you ensure this?
There's no way to ensure this, but you need your robots to be ready, let's say, to be safe robots, and your logics of traffic management to be very smooth. Depending on how you define them, you can find at some point a bottleneck, and you need to detect them and correct them. Otherwise, you're lost. You have like losses in production. So that's something you don't want to face. And
this is a little bit out of scope, but I believe it's very interesting. We have recently been talking with a company that works on ADAS, so autonomous or automatic driving assistance for cars, for example. Now Tesla is trying to roll out their full safe driving software. To test this, you have to test it in real conditions. Mm-hmm. And in a factory, like on the street, everything changes every day. There are many things that can change, and that the original algorithm that ran that robot when it was at a perfect factory on the manufacturer will not work in a real environment. How is this being monitored, tested, and improved?
That's something you need to like solve during deployment of every project. Not a simple project, but whenever a project is bigger in terms of more robots or working with other processes, that happens. You have to be ready for that. And the easiness of your traffic management system or your navigation system would be a key here. Also the experience of your deployers, let's say. But you have to be ready for that, especially in industries that combine lots of processes at the same time.
Do you consider Movvo as an integrator?
Yeah, I would consider Movvo as an integrator because we are manufacturers. We design and build some of our vehicles. That makes us flexible. But since what we consider ourselves is intralogistics solvers, we are integrators more than anything.
How do you troubleshoot issues on the floor? When there is an issue with an AMR, for example, with perception, or the only thing that you get is it stopped. How do you troubleshoot issues?
We need to understand what's happening, and actually we have some projects in which what we do after deploying a project of ourselves is maintaining this project. We also maintain project of third parties, third companies, let's say, and it's even more important here to understand what happened. So the very first step you need to do is to maintain production. That's the most important in every company, of course. So whenever you have the production solved, then you analyze what happened there, and you need to be a little bit thinking out of the box, let's say, and sometimes have a solution which is not going to the same process you were before, so if not improving this process and deploying this improvement. That's the key in troubleshooting these processes.
What has been the top most challenging project that Movvo has solved in the last year? That you can talk of.
I always say, whoever says they don't have problems in deployment, they never deployed a project. So we all have problems in every project.
I don't say challenging as problems, but it's a challenge.
There's
that
challenges.
you probably solved it. But what has been the biggest challenge for?
The biggest, I am sure everyone in my company would say the same. It's a project in which we had three big challenges to solve. First one was a slope. We need to change mechanically our robots to be able to go up and down of this 8% slope with 2,000 kilos. And second challenge was how narrow was the space, and having a 9 robots fleet in a narrow space. That's a challenge. And third, and most important, was cold. In this process, we are working in a meat industry. We are normally working at 5 degrees, but we go inside of a freezer, which is minus 20 degrees. So there's something happening with navigation, because we use our leaders to navigate. So whenever we have condensation, we are blinded. So we had to solve that. And that was a challenge. We are now running, so happy to to solve it.
Nice. So what was the solution that you found for the lidars, for the perception?
I would have to kill you if I tell you.
No worries.
No, but again, was understanding what was happening there. When you go inside, there's condensation in some parts of the leader. When you're going out of the freezer, there's condensation at other parts of the leader. So there's a combination of solution in heating, in using less humid air. It's a combination on that. That was really a challenge, R&D challenge, and we solved it. Yeah, we're very happy.
What do you think are the industries that are going to have the biggest adoption for AMRs and mobile robots that are not yet there?
Yeah, of course, automotive industry is already there, so I won't mention it. There's airports here. We have this solution for navigating both indoors and outdoors, and we test it together with AENA in Spanish airports, especially in Barcelona airport. And I think processes in airports are yet to be evolved. And I think they're ready for that. And it will be one of the industries that will adopt the more mobile robots in the future years.
That will require a very, very profound integration of software between the AMRs and all the systems from the airport, right?
Sure. And there's, again, like in automotive industry, lots of processes being held at the same time in the same place, manual, I hope autonomous processes. So yeah, that would be a key point.
What's your vision with Movvo? Where do you see it? Where do you want it to be in the coming years?
I would make a differentiation in locally and worldwide. Locally, especially in automotive or in SEAT industry, I see Movvo as an intralogistic partner. So we can manage, and we are already managing the manual forklifts or truck fleet. We are already deploying some mobile robots projects, and we are already maintaining mobile robots projects. So I see Movvo as this partner, this trusty partner. Worldwide, I see Movvo as a specific or niche, let's say, mobile robot integrator. For example, what we said about airports, we have this solution, and I think it's a really niche solution. So yeah, that's where I would see Movvo.
What is the one thing that matters most to future-proof intralogistics?
We need to focus in people that are like our teams, let's say, helping us in being, as I said, on top of the age in terms of technology. So human resources, it is already a point and will be a point. We need these people to be ready, and we need these people to be as a part of our teams. So that would be a key point for sure.
Is there enough people and engineers today?
Not for sure. There is people, of course, but there's more and more needs of this kind of processes to be automatized. So we need more and more people. And I think the speed of people going out of colleges and having the experience needed, it's not like at the same point.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Jaume. Hope to see you back soon. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Thanks for listening to Intralogistics Insiders. Stay tuned for more insights and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite platform.